Hello, dear thinkers. I am the Inquirer, and today we will talk about a special topic among Adventure Time fans that is very controversial. This topic is the relationship between Marceline and Bubblegum, which the fans like to call Bubbline. Over the course of the 3 years this show has been on, these two have made a name for themselves and are some people's favorite character. Nobody thought these two had any romantic interest in each other until a certain episode titled What Was Missing. The reason being that the writer of this episode wanted these two to have a relationship, so he put a lot of lesbian subtext in there. Even after he did that, people still didn't think that these ladies liked each other. That is, until an episode recap where he basically said it was possible these two were together. This stirred up so much controversy that he was fired, and the recap was taken down. But the damage was already done. Thousands of people saw it and now think these two should be together, spawning countless amounts of fan art and fan fiction. The fan art I personally don't mind at all. Oh, this one looks fine. Oh, so hot. Oh yeah, this is hot. Oh gosh, that's disgusting. How revolting. Wait, what is Jake doing there? Oh my goodness. Ah! All right. Take it away! oh, thank you. Now that that moment of insanity is over, we will begin examining the relationship and see if it did happen, and if not, what did break those two apart? Was it a lesbian romance, or two friends who have lost their way? Well, since it's Valentine's Day, this is a great topic to discuss. Now, let's stop delaying and let's get to the facts. Let's examine the two characters' personalities. Marceline is a carefree, reckless, fun-loving queen of the vampires who loves to travel, play her guitar, and hang out with her friends. While she is mostly carefree, she does deeply care for her friends and will fight for them if necessary. She has relationship problems with her dad, but they've been repairing their relationship in recent years. Her dad recently tried to forcefully turn her into leader of the Nightosphere, but was stopped by Finn and Jake. She misses her dear friend Simon Petrikov, now known as the Ice King, who gave her Hambo and was like a father figure to her and raised her for most of her life until the crown finally destroyed his mind. She dated a guy named Ash, but dumped him when he sold Hambo. Marceline met Finn and Jake when Finn was 12, and took their home away from them until Finn won it back and also won her respect. Now, a lot of people say her history with guys provides proof that she is a lesbian. But here's the problem with that. She only has problems with two guys, and one of them she is slowly growing closer to. But this would be evidence enough if it wasn't for one thing. The Ice King. If he didn't meet her, then her guy history would be considered evidence. But he raised her as if she was his daughter, and helped her survive in the apocalyptic world. And if you think that's not evidence, then why did she keep Hambo? It's her most prized possession, showing that she doesn't have that bad view of guys enough to turn her into a lesbian. But if you're still being stubborn and saying, "Oh, that's not proof, it's just the Ice King, you're stupid," then allow me to show you my next piece of evidence, Finn. Now you might be thinking, what does Finn have to do with Marceline's history with guys? Well, think about it. He is one of the only people in years to give her a good fight. He helped fix her father-daughter relationship, twice might I add, and she tells him personal stuff she wouldn't tell anyone else. And he protects her whenever she is in trouble, like in the two-part episode they went to the Nightosphere. So her having a bad record with guys is out of the question. Now we turn to everyone's number one irrefutable evidence, the song she sang in the same episode that caused people to think she was a lesbian in the first place, What Was Missing. Well, here's my rebuttal. The song she sang, I'm Just Your Problem, I didn't get that she loved bubblegum out of it. For me, she was singing that Even after their big fight or whatever broke them up, she still for some reason wants to be her friend. And you all thought that too until that episode recap. What about that first line when she said, "I want you to drink the red from your pretty pink face"? Well, I'll use science to answer this question for me. You see, with humans, we are all different colors. White, black, etc. But when you squeeze any point in your body, your finger for example, blood will become constricted and turn pink. Or if you jam your finger, red. Or when someone blushes, their face turns dark pink or red. But even without that, if we as humans were not able to have tans, our skin would have a pink tint to it due to the blood underneath our skin. So she could have been referring to someone else, like Finn. Don't believe me? Well, look at the episode The Witch's Garden. We clearly see Jake lost all his fur on the lower half of his body, revealing a man-baby-like stature. So it's easy to conclude that the blood will work the same as if it were in a human body. Also, think about this. What about all the other characters that are pink, such as some of the lumpy space people, a few residents of the Nightosphere, and so on? So that also disproves that evidence. You guys by now are probably going, Marceline looks and acts and talks like a lesbian, so she must be one. Well, to you desperate folk out there are these rare, very sought-after beauties called tomboys, who like some of the same stuff boys like, video games, horror movies, among others, but still like guys. So really, I just eliminated all the evidence that people have to prove she is a lesbian. Except for one. In the same episode, What Was Missing, she's saying, "I don't have to change for you," or something like that, but that's common among friends and lovers, because naturally, most people don't want to change who they are for one person, and Marceline is probably one of those people who firmly believes in that. And let's face it, Bubblegum does seem like the kind of person who forces other people to change instead of her. Now, let's get to everyone's favorite Princess in Pink, Princess Bubblegum. She is the princess of the Candy Kingdom and rules it with total control. She hardly ever makes time for other people and mostly makes time for her science work and running her kingdom. She doesn't like when things don't go her way or if people disagree with her ideas. For example, in Princess Cookie, Jake tried to reason with Bubblegum into giving the cookie her crown so that the cookie will leave, which is what he promised. But Bubblegum refused to listen to Jake's plea and declared him a menace, even though all he asked for was her crown. Which you're probably thinking, Bubblegum had a right to arrest him, because he held hostages and she needs to show that crime will not go unpunished. Well, that is true, but let me give you another example of her narrow-mindedness. In the episode The Duke, Bubblegum is turned green and bald by Finn and blames it on the Duke of Nuts. At the end of the episode, it's revealed that the Duke has a pudding disorder, practically making him eat pudding when he is around it. But even when the Duke, Jake, and Finn tell her that he has a disorder, she refuses to believe that he has a disorder and still hates the Duke. So, she doesn't believe when a guy has a disorder, even when two of her closest friends tell her. That's pretty stubborn and narrow-minded if you ask me. She has a strong sense of morale and nobility, while also being very intelligent. She also has a darker side to her personality, such as willing to torture other living beings for her own amusement, as seen in The Lich. We will touch on even the darker side of her personality, but we will talk about it later. As for her being a lesbian, well, there's a probable chance she is. Okay, guys, I'll throw you a bone. You'd had to sit through my boring talk so far, so I'll show you this. Now that we've seen their personalities, let's check the compatibility chart to see if they are compatible. Okay, it says that their interests match up to 68%, their personalities 45%, their possible chemistry ranging from 55% to 71%, and their good and evil stats are Marceline 76% good and 24% evil, and I will not reveal Bubblegum's till the end of the video like the darker side of her personality. Marceline has free time 95% of the time, and Bubblegum only being 15%. Marceline chooses friends over work 98% of the time, and Bubblegum only chooses them 12%. You're probably wondering why I have those last two categories: overall compatibility without knowing the other's true colors, and overall compatibility. I will also tell you at the end of the video. Don't worry, this is all building up to something. Now I have 4 scenarios as to what could have happened between the two of them. Scenario number 1. Marceline and Bubblegum meet at a Royal Ooh convention after Hudson dragged Marceline there. Curious about vampire biology, Bubblegum asks if she could study Marceline. She agrees, and over the course of several months they made small talk and found some things they had in common. Marceline showed Bubblegum stuff she had never seen before, like a rock concert and zombie biology too. The two grew closer as friends, and eventually on their anniversary of friendship or something like that, Marceline gave Bubblegum a t-shirt as memorabilia in remembrance of their first concert. Then 2 years later, Bubblegum asked Marceline to do something that was unthinkable for her. She asked Marceline to drink the blood from 5 test subjects. Marceline refused, saying she was not going to do that to these innocent people. Bubblegum is furious, yelling at Marceline, saying that this was all in the name of science and that it didn't matter. Marceline argued that these were still people and that she was not going to drink their blood for the sake of an experiment. The two argued for hours, eventually splitting the two up. A couple of years later, Marceline, Finn, Jake, and Bubblegum try to beat the Door Lord, and Marceline sings how even though Bubblegum asked her to do the unthinkable, she still wants to be her friend. Scenario number 2. Bubblegum and Marceline have been friends for a long time, but due to conflicting interests they grow distant. Years later, at the Door Lord incident, Marceline sings how she wants to be Bubblegum's friend again. Scenario number 3. Once again, Marceline and Bubblegum meet at a Royal Ooh convention, and it's almost love at first sight. They get to know each other and eventually become lovers. They date for a couple of years, and then Marceline and Bubblegum get into a big fight and break up. Years later, while meeting the Door Lord, okay, I'm not going to repeat myself. You guys know the drill. Scenario number 4. This is a mystery scenario, which I'll talk about later. Trust me. This is all leading up to something big. I promise. Okay, well, let's see a chart and see the likeliness of these scenarios. The first scenario has a possibility of 75%. Scenario number 2 has a possibility of 35%. And scenario number 3 has a possibility of 24%. And scenario number 4 has a possibility of 45%. So in the end, what have we learned today, ladies and gentlemen? That Marceline and Bubblegum were not friends that drifted apart, nor were they lovers. They were two people who became friends, but broke up due to a morality issue. Now that isn't to say it's not possible that they dated, but it's not the most likely scenario. Also, it seems the two have not made up on their friendship, because in the latest episode, Bad Little Boy, Prince Gumball still hates Marshall Lee, and since this was told by Marceline, it could be hinting at the possibility that these two have not amended their relationship. Now you're all probably wondering, what was all that build-up about Bubblegum? Well, this is the final nail in the coffin, for you see, I don't think Marceline wants to date a power-hungry dictator. Hail Bubblegum! Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Thinking Corner, and I hope you liked my Valentine's Day special. Excuse me? What is it? I'm wrapping up an episode. What do you mean it's not Valentine's Day? Well, how late am I? I'm a week late? Oh, for the love of... Well, I'm the Inquirer, and I give you the facts so that we may learn. Except for the freaking date!